Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's talk on careers in Britain. We're going to be talking today about all things jobs, visas, CVs, interviews, everything that you need to go from having a fantastic education to having your dream job. That's what today is all about. Now, I'm going to be talking to you today from three different perspectives. I'm going to be talking to you firstly from an education and careers specialist perspective. That's my job here at Libra Education, to help young people secure their dream places at schools and universities and to progress that into their dream jobs. So hopefully I'll be able to bring to you some of my professional experience in that manner and talk to you about how we can support you on that journey. The second perspective that I'm going to give you is as an employer. I employ around 100 people and we are very particular with who we take on. We reject 70 to 80% of the people that apply. Now, I'm sure that many of those people would be great at the jobs here, but for some reason, their application just doesn't live up to the standards that we're setting. So I'm going to tell you from an employer's perspective what I look for in my employees. The third and final perspective that I'm going to give you is as a former student and applicant myself. I may not look it, but I'm still young, and it was not that long ago that I was applying for jobs myself after leaving university. I don't mind telling you that it was a daunting experience. It was not something that I enjoyed, nor was it something that any of my friends enjoyed. But look, I found a job and my friends did too. And there's lessons that I learned that I can share with you today that will help make sure that as you make your first steps into your careers, that you do so with more confidence and more success than myself and my friends did way back when we were applying. So let's get into it and let's start to talk through what makes a career and how can you get started. As many of you will know by now, I have the fortune to have had a really fantastic education. It started off at Eton College, where I won a full scholarship, studying maths, economics, physics, geography, and French for my A-levels. At the same time, I wore a lot of funny school uniform on the way, but Eton really was a great platform for building my confidence, speaking and presenting, and building a network, which ultimately has helped me as I moved into my career. After leaving Eton, I went on to study at the University of Cambridge. As you can see, there's still plenty of fun outfits to be worn, but a real academic intensity followed me at Cambridge. I studied land economy, which is a mixture of law and economics studied at the same time. It was an intense experience. I had to submit 5 essays every 2 weeks throughout my entire 3 years. In one term, I had to submit 40,000 words of marked work. It's a huge volume. But again, this proved a brilliant training bed for me in learning how to manage conversations and manage a workload. And there's many lessons that I learned from my time at Cambridge that helped me to find a job and helped me to succeed within a career once I was there. So that's the background of my education. On leaving Cambridge, I took up 2 jobs. I took up employment as first and foremost as a teacher and tutor, working with students in the UK, learning economics and applying for Oxford and for Cambridge. At the same time, I also took up a job in strategy for a supermarket chain here in the UK. This taught me how to operate in a big company and how to lead a team of people. And it's served me really well since then. After a couple of years of experience, I founded Libra Education, And we've now got 10 years of experience working with international students applying to the UK. We have some really impressive statistics in terms of university applications, with over the last 3 years, 60% success rate at Oxbridge and 95 in the G5. But obviously today we're talking about careers. And what really stands out to me is our students who have attended the best universities are the same students who have gone on to secure the best jobs. Now that is not just because of the universities that they've attended. It's also because of the skills that they learned. So whether you're at Oxford, whether you're at King's, whether you're at Liverpool, it doesn't matter which university you are at. Each of these universities will give you an opportunity to learn the skills that can help you to acquire the dream job that you're searching for. So the UK job market is something that's talked about a lot in the economy and a lot for our students as well. Graduates have an 87.7% employment rate. That's across all universities. Even top performers like LSE have a 91% rate. So as I said earlier, it doesn't matter which university you go to, but if you learn the right skills, you absolutely have the opportunity to go on and find your dream job. In terms of the average salaries, average starting salary for a graduate is around 29,000. And an average starting salary in finance is only 1,000 more at 30,000. Many of the students who are listening today through WeChat or through Zoom or through YouTube will be considering a job in finance. Now, if you do and you go for the top jobs, you can expect to be earning £50,000 or more in your first year. These are big salaries and they're set to only increase over time. But the average starting salary in finance is 30,000. What does this tell you? Well, it should be telling you that finance is not the only option. There are a myriad of jobs available, from marketing, advertising, from operations, even working in startups, in client management roles. These are all amazing options and they should be on your radar. There's also, of course, other corporate services such as law, and these provide very attractive options. You may need to do additional 1 to 2 years of studies in order to be able to secure it, but it gives you a great platform for jobs in the future. Where are the jobs in the UK? Well, there's jobs everywhere. Don't make the mistake of thinking that jobs are only in one place. Often, if you've attended a university like Nottingham, you will have a local network that can help you to secure great employment in that area. That said, most people, when leaving university, will look to London, Oxford, or maybe Manchester for jobs. These are definitely hubs of employment, especially for finance, for law, for technology, for all those service industries. So if that's what you're looking for, perhaps London, Oxford, or even Manchester could be the right options for you. But let's reflect for just a moment on how you select a career. There's no one career for everybody. As I said myself, when I left, I worked in strategy and in teaching. Now, what did I learn from that? If you'd asked me at the time where my future lay before I started those jobs, I would have said to you that it was in strategy. That's where I wanted to be. And yet, here I sit as an educator and an entrepreneur. The lesson that that teaches me is that it's only by experiencing things firsthand that you can begin to make that transition. You cannot simply decide what the right job is. You have to give yourself the opportunity to try it. There's lots of different ways you can do this. First and foremost, you should absolutely speak to young professionals in the industry that you want to enter. They have just gone through the applications that you're going through, and they have just started the career that you're targeting. So they'll have great insight into what it is that you're getting yourself in store for. So use those resources, use your friends who've just gone through these steps to work out how you're going to feel when you're doing that job. As well as these informal discussions, you can also take up formal work experience or internships. If you're about to embark on a 5-10 year career, you'd much rather know the reason that you're embarking on it is because you love it. So give yourself the opportunity, do some work experience, take on some internships. This will give you the knowledge of what it takes to succeed. It will help you in the interview, but it will also help narrow down the vast choice of careers to the one that's right for you. Final piece of advice on this is don't be afraid to change. If you start a career and it's not the right one for you, you will have plenty of company. As I grew through my career, at around 2 to 3 years of employment, I saw many of the friends around me start to switch careers. They'd decided after experiencing their job that actually it wasn't the right one for them. So don't be afraid of making the wrong decision. You have to make the decision that feels right at the time, but it might not be the right decision forever. Now, if you've already decided what job you want, now is the time for the dirty business of applying. And there's no shortcut here. You have to put the work in. You have to put in the effort to get these jobs. You may speak to 1 or 2 friends that get the first job they apply for, and they work on it until they retire. Most people will put dozens of job applications in throughout their lifetime, even for that first job. And it normally starts with a CV and a cover letter. Now, a CV, a curriculum vitae, is a short summary of all of your experience and education. Often it's 1 page, and a maximum, it should be 2 pages. When you structure it, you should make sure that your name is clearly at the top, that your contact details are there and they're correct. You should then summarize your education, always starting with the most recent first, whether that's PhD, master's, undergraduate. Put that right at the top. Then go down and give further information about your secondary school or your high school studies. After that, you need to list any relevant work experience that you have. Maybe you've already had a job and you can list the dates and the responsibilities that you had for that job. Maybe you haven't had a job yet. Now, this is often something that students struggle with. When you haven't yet had a job, how can you put together a CV? I'll talk about this a little bit more later on, but it's vitally important that you think about every opportunity that you've had through school and through university, and you think how it can relate to the job that you're applying for. Let me give you a couple of examples. Let's say you're applying for a job at a bank. What skills are they likely to want to see? They'll want to see that you're a leader. They'll want to see that you're good with numbers. They'll want to see that you're responsible, and they'll want to see that you're hardworking. First thing you need to do is look at what you've done that relates to those 4 skills. A good example of this for me personally would have been when I was in charge of a May ball at Cambridge. A May ball is effectively a huge party for 1,000 guests. Every ticket costs about £200. I was in charge of the entire budget for that party. That was £200,000 that at the age of 19, I was solely responsible for. Now that's a huge budget to manage at a young age. And I was able to give plenty of details in my own applications about what I'd learned from managing that budget, and how it set me up for success. So that's one example. Think about any teams you've been a part of, whether it's a subject society, maybe it's a debate club. Think about your role within it and about how the skills you've learned could endear you to the employer. So that's the CV. And I can't pretend that it's an easy thing to write. If you want some further advice and guidance, I'll share my contact details at the end, and you can contact me or one of my team and we'll happily have a look for you. The other thing that you're likely to have to start with is a cover letter. A cover letter is normally one, but again, a maximum of 2 pages, which details why you have the right experience for this job in particular. I mentioned to you earlier that now that I run Libra Education, I have to reject dozens upon dozens of applicants every month. One of the biggest things that I see is people sending generic CVs and cover letters. And I get it. It's easy to send the same 2 pieces of paper to every employer that you're applying to. Then it's a 30-minute job, finished. Well, if that's the way you approach it, it's definitely going to be a 30-minute job because there's no chance that you're going to get called back for the next stage. You have to make sure that your cover letter is perfectly targeted for the job you're applying for. Again, let's take our banking example. There's no point talking about things that they don't care about. You've got to explain why your skill set is right for their company and for the job. If you write that and you take that same cover letter and you use it to apply to a marketing company, they're not looking for the same skills. So you're not giving yourself the opportunity to be successful. Every cover letter has to be unique for every application, period. So you've sent that off and you've made it through to the next stage. What is likely to come next? Well, next up, almost always, is the skills test. Skills test is where they're looking to understand your personality, your numerical, and your problem-solving skills. Normally, these tests are online and take anything from 30 minutes to around 90 minutes. They will always tell you in advance what they're testing and what the test will look like. Your job, at least 4 days in advance, is to do a practice test. Once you've done the practice test, you'll figure out how the questions are structured, and you'll also get feedback from any of these online providers of free tests, how strong you are in your answers. So do it 4 days in advance, and it gives you the opportunity to practice again. So you've done the skills test. What comes next? Well, often it's a first round interview. Increasingly, these are group interviews or they are online interviews. What they're looking for in these interviews is they're looking for someone who is approachable, who is good at communicating, someone that can work with others. These are some of the key things. Unsurprisingly, each job will look for different skill sets. To work in the army and to be a doctor are completely different. So the interview will be different. But working as a team, communicating well, and being able to be a leader will be the same for each interview. If you're in a group setting, one of the best things that you can do is ask the opinion of the other people sat around the table. This shows that you care about other people's opinions and that you can make the most of the information that they're providing to you. Finally, you've reached the second round interview. And if you reach the second round interview, there's a high chance that they're considering perhaps just 1, 2, or a maximum of 3 candidates. So you should feel really confident at this stage. If you find yourself in a second round interview, it's imperative that you know all of the details about the job that you're applying for and the company. One of the questions that I was asked in my interview was, what is the share price of the company? I was also asked, who is the CEO? These are small details and they don't matter, but it's important to show that you're invested in the job you're applying for. The final stage, of course, is for references to be taken. And you should choose senior references. They shouldn't be friends. They should be either professors from university or perhaps from work experience that you've carried out. If you reach it to this stage, they're simply looking for people that are going to say that you have good character and that you are who you say you are. It's the least important part of the application process, but it's still important to get it right. So how can you prepare? We've looked at what you need to deliver. Now we're going to talk about how you get to that point of being fantastic, sat in the interview, smiling and being the perfect person for the job. Step number 1, have a good degree. If you're yet to start university, make sure you're choosing a degree in an academic subject. Things like maths, science, economics, law, history, English. These traditional subjects are massively popular with employers. It shows that you're able to apply to competitive courses and that you have the skill set to succeed within them. Of course, if possible, you should carry out work experience or placements in a related field. It's going to be hugely advantageous if you can go to a job application having already had some experience in that area. And as I said, you should have a CV and cover letter specifically for the job and company that you're applying for. My 4th point here is about knowing your case studies. Now that's a funny one. What do we mean by knowing your case studies? A really popular type of question that you might be asked in an interview is a competency-based question. This is where the employer asks you to give an example of a time when you've shown leadership, a time when you failed, a time where you had to overcome an issue. There's a big list of these online. But again, if you want to speak to me or my team directly, we can provide you with that list. What I recommend is that you take a notepad like this, old school pen and paper, and you write at the top of each page the case study that you need. Maybe it's leadership. And on that page, you write out the details of what you did and why it showed leadership. Turn the page over and do the same for a time when you failed. What were you trying to do? Why did you fail? And what did you learn from it? You'll notice that we're turning that negativity into a positive experience of learning from it and doing something differently next time. You might end up with 10, 20 case studies, and they might talk about some of the same things, but with different emphasis. If you have an online interview, my biggest piece of advice is to put these case studies on the floor around your chair. If you get stuck in the interview, it's really easy just to quickly look down and check your notes, and then you'll give really powerful case studies. My penultimate point is that you need to practice your interview technique. This means speaking with friends and getting them to ask you questions on your CV or about the job that you want. It also means getting in front of a laptop or grabbing your mobile phone and recording yourself answering questions. Write a list of questions you think are likely to come up and practice answering them. Record it and watch yourself back. It's really hard to get a feel for how you're speaking if you're just listening to it as you say it. I've got no idea right now how I'm coming across. But if you record it and then watch it back, you have got instant feedback. You can see exactly what you're doing well, where you're mumbling or where you're failing to present ideas. So use it. The technology is right there. Finally, it's important to know what salary you want or would be happy with. It's quite common for employers to ask this at the end of the interview. and you should know what your answer is. Employers don't like it if you fail to answer this. They want to know what your expectations are. Question is, of course, what comes first? And I would argue that in order to set yourself up, you should think about the university that you're attending. Universities in the UK have got some of the best research. They also allow you to develop personal networks that can help you to get jobs in the future. I've now attended Eton, Cambridge, and I've just graduated from the University of Oxford for an executive MBA. Doing these courses at these institutions has given me a group of friends and contacts that I do business with, and that's really valuable. Obviously, it's important to choose the right course, and if you have an idea about what career you would like in the future, then you should choose a course that's going to enable you to study that. There's no point studying English if you know you want to be a computer scientist. It sounds simple, but you need to give it some thought before you start your studies. Now, at university, you need to maximize your time. You will be time poor. You'll have 1,000 things to do and half an hour to do them. So you have to think, what is it that's going to make you an impressive candidate? What's going to motivate you? And you have to start with the end in mind. Think about your dream job and about the attributes that they're looking for. Make sure that whilst you're in university, you get that experience. If you want to work as a doctor or in a lab, then you're going to need to do lab experience, lab work. So make sure that you've prioritized that during your studies. If you want to be a banker, get work experience in a bank. Again, simple things, but are so easy to overlook. In short, academic excellence is important, the right degree at the right university. Make sure you develop your soft skills, speaking with people, debating ideas, working in a team. And experience comes in many different forms. Don't be too narrow. Think about what are the different things that you can use to learn from. I want to touch ever so briefly. Apologies, my light's just turned off. Let's see if I can't turn it back on. Okay. And I want to finish by just talking briefly about the post-study work visa. This visa is in place for 2 years after you graduate, and it gives you the right to stay and work in the UK. This is massive. Before, there were maybe only 15,000 job opportunities for international students. Now, you can apply to any job in any industry. So this is a huge step forward. It's eligible for anyone who started their studies this year. So if you started in previous years, I would recommend that you take on a master's. If you take on a master's for 1 year, you will then get a 2-year visa after graduation. There's a lot to be said on company culture, and I'm not going to go into the detail of it now. But some of the things that are important in the UK include respect, time management, and believe it or not, in the UK, we still use emails. We're old school, what can I say? Emails are important. If you want to meet with someone or speak to them, generally send them an email first before following up with a physical visit or a phone call. And I'd want to finish just by saying how you can work with us. We give free advice and a personalized plan for every student. That means if you contact us by scanning the WeChat codes below, you'll be able to get one of our team who will talk to you about your goals, understand where you're at the moment, and give you a personalized plan about how to achieve those goals. One of our best products is our University and Careers Mentoring service. This service lasts for a year, and it supports students with interview coaching, CV, and cover letter writing. and careers advice and guidance. It basically picks you up, makes sure you succeed, and puts you in your dream job. So if you have any concerns at all about how to get your dream job, our university and careers mentoring service is the one for you. If you don't have WeChat, you can also go to our website, www.libraeducation.co.uk, or you can reach the team by emailing info@libraeducation.co.uk. That's info@libraeducation.co.uk. I really hope that's been useful to a certain extent. It certainly is what I look for as an employer, and it's what I experienced as an applicant myself. Any questions at all, get in contact, and I wish you all the best in your job hunt.